For us, it's a daily thing.
It's every day, right?
This is Mammoth Daily
We're going to take you inside the locker room
with Mike Fulta.
We want this show to be about the fans, and we want this show to be driven by our Utah Mammoth community.
And Adrian Denny.
Fans can submit what they want to hear us talk about, what they want to hear Utah weigh in on. It's all going to be here.
Here's Mike and AD with you.
Utahns, countrymen, lend me your ears.
Right here on Mammoth Daily.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into a Friday edition of Mammoth Daily. I'm Mike Fulta alongside Adrian Denny here with you on your Friday Free-4-All edition of our great show. And Adrian, I love recording this show on the road. It's fun. I always have a hotel background recording this before we take off from Anaheim to get to Vancouver. But one thing that irks me a little bit is that I typically have to make my hotel bed so that it's presentable behind me in the shot. Who makes a hotel bed?
I'll tell you, Mike, I am a neatnik, as they would say. I have to have everything in my home in the exact right spot. I don't like clutter. I don't like, laundry out. The bed has to be made. The kitchen has to be in order. No sinks no dishes and bowls in the kitchen sink. It's got to be in order. I have to have it. The second I get to a hotel, I unravel. I've got gym clothes in one corner. I've got toiletries on the nightstand, in the bathroom, on the deck. Like, stuff is all over the place. My suitcase is in 15 different spots, and I've got an ironing board out, and I've got granola bars on the desk, and I've got everything everywhere. I'm a disaster on the road, and I think it's because it's the one spot where you can kind of get away with it because you've got housekeeping, and they come in and they organize everything and they make the bed, and you don't have to, there's no consequences for being disorganized. Stuff doesn't pile up like it does at home. Like, if you go a day and you don't do the dishes, your sink's full, right? If you pull stuff out of the dryer and don't fold it, it's a pile and nobody's going to touch it. But in a hotel, somebody's there to look after you. And I don't make the bed in the hotel. Making the bed at home, first thing I do every day.
I'm a bed maker as well, but I just feel ridiculous doing it in a hotel room. Like, there are literally professionals that will come and do this. But on Mammoth Daily, we make our beds. I'm kind of the same way, like in the hotel room. I have not mastered the organization because a lot of times we're only here for one night. Right? Like, we travel in the day before, we stay one night, and then we leave right after the game. So that you don't want to like unpack your entire life, but like, we're on a 6-game road trip, 10 days. And like, I don't have a big suitcase, so I only have so many clothes with me. And I don't want them to smell. I don't want them to be grimy. So I end up taking a lot of them out. I hang up a ton of stuff to let it kind of air out, let it breathe a little bit. But then you have all these dirty clothes too, right? Like, I'm sure you're working out on the road, Adrian. You've got like your workout shirt. You've got like some grimy socks and stuff like that. I don't know what to do with those. Like, do you just clump them in a corner? Sometimes housekeeping will fold the dirty clothes for me and kind of stack them in a pile. But usually they just kind of end up on the floor or the couch or something.
Yeah, I do a dirty clothes pile with the gym clothes, usually, someplace in the room where you can't see it. And yeah, it's a challenge. And you're going from different climates, right? You guys are going from Dallas, where it's, somewhat temperate this time of year, to St. Louis, where it was a Midwest winter, to San Jose, where it's always pretty nice. Right. Southern California is nice. And now you're going to the Great White North, Vancouver and Calgary, so you've got even more stuff with you. So I hear you. Yeah, and I'm the worst in a hotel room, but I'm the best when it's mine at my house and I'm responsible and I don't have anybody to lean on to handle it, or it's going to unravel and become a disaster.
We'd be great roommates. Oh, you would that would tear this podcast apart, I think. Like a week of Mike and Adrian being roommates. But it is the longest road trip of the year, longest road trip ever for this Utah team. And we've got games 5 and 6 coming up, a back-to-back Friday and Saturday, tonight and tomorrow, against Vancouver and Calgary, the bottom 2 teams in the Pacific Division. You had lost 4 in a row. You get a really big win against the Pacific Division leading Anaheim Ducks on Wednesday night, an emphatic 7-0 win. But now it's time to finish off the road trip strong against 2 teams that, yes, are at the bottom of the standings, but early in the year, everybody's still pretty tight, and there have been some negativity surrounding both Vancouver and Calgary, some trade rumors, things like that. But these are rooms full of pros that are not thinking about anything but trying to win the next game. And AD, I guess as you look at this weekend coming up, and before we get into Vancouver specifically, how do you view these 2 games that you need to win in order to split the road trip per your request?
Yes, as I've stated for the last 2 weeks, give me a split. I'll be happy. 6 of 12 points, and when you're 0-3 and you just lost 6-3 in San Jose and the split's still a possibility, I'm still a happy camper, not a care in the world. For me, Mike, it's the exact same as the Anaheim game. And Utah controlled that game in every area. They scored early. They killed a penalty to keep the lead. They scored again to make it 2-0. They came out in the second period, scored the first goal. They challenged the offside for Anaheim, their goal overturned, scored again less than 90 seconds later. They controlled everything. They didn't give Anaheim any opportunity to dictate any pace. And yeah, Mike, we knew that Anaheim had an AHL goalie who's been, kind of like our AHL goalies, up and down. Billy Husso's a fine goalie. He's playing the NHL, mostly AHL. They had their ECHL goalie who got called up to San Diego when Lukasz Dostal got hurt, and then Peter Mrazek gets hurt and he gets called up. Yeah. So you've got minor league goalies. We know they give up a lot of high danger scoring chances. You got to go create the high danger chances. They're not just going to come to you by shooting the puck from 40 feet away and rotating it around the perimeter. Minor league goalies make first saves, Mike. So go out and dictate the tempo, dictate the game. And, Mike, it's like when we're in a hotel room, we're doing it on our terms. It's on our terms, right? No one's going to tell us to make the bed. You will, because you're a professional host on Mammoth Daily, but, go dictate it like you're at your house, not in a hotel, and take it from there and own the game, and don't give them a chance to be their get right game or be their one game in 6 weeks that they're going to win in regulation. Go do it.
Yeah. And this team have to find the urgency, right? I think the practice Tuesday in Anaheim, where as my broadcast partner Wednesday night, Nick Olchek, as he said, there were some one-way conversations between Bear and the group, and he laid into him at times throughout that practice. And even at morning skate, there was that intensity from Grizzly Bear. And I think that carried over. Utah played with intensity, and that doesn't mean they're running guys through the wall. That's not really this team's MO, but using that speed to create 50-50 battles and using that speed to swarm and to win those puck battles and then take it the other way. So they were going right to the net, which I liked. That was a big emphasis on Tuesday, going right to the net on those odd man rushes. That's kind of what you saw from some of the goals on Wednesday night, where instead of kind of dipsy doodling out wide like we've seen, Utah's going hard at the net, not just the first guy, but the second guy as well. Not necessarily looking for the fancy highlight play, but trying to create something in tight on those backup goaltenders. The the odd man rushes in that game, 13-1. Now, a lot of those came as Anaheim was pushing late, but the Mammoth got to their game and they got to it early, using their speed up the ice. And that same urgency has to be there these next two games against Vancouver and Calgary, because as fun as it was against Anaheim on Wednesday, it's only 2 points. It's one game. And I think Andre Tourigny has a great perspective on that and doesn't let him or his group get too high or too low, but the players have to buy into that as well. And I hope to see that urgency again against the Calgary team that has won just 2 games across their last 10 contests. They've struggled this year, 7th place in the Pacific, give up a ton. They give up a lot, almost 3.5 goals per game. So it's another opportunity for an offense that had been waiting to break out, that broke out Wednesday. It's another opportunity for the Mammoth to get rolling offensively against a Vancouver team that's been porous.
Yeah, Thatcher Demko's hurt again. Their starting goalie who won him a playoff series a couple years ago. But he's hurt. He's out. And so their goaltending depth has been tested. And Mike, the defensive structure that Rick Tocchet employed there when Utah had to come from behind 2-0 to win 3-2, when they had to win a game 2-1, when they went up there on that Sunday afternoon and won 3-1. The defensive structure it's not what it was. As you said, they're giving up a lot more goals. They're not scoring a lot of goals. They're getting 44% of their expected goals at 5-on-5, which is some of the lowest metrics in NHL history. They've had injuries to centermen. They're struggling on centermen. Philip Hedl is out, and 3 wins in 21 games for the Vancouver Canucks. And as Ian Cole said after the game on Wednesday night, we won a game. We didn't win the Stanley Cup. Don't let this game become their Stanley Cup, right? Because if they jump up, if they get a lead or you let them hang around, they're going to start feeling good and forget everything that's happened during this tough run with their new head coach, Adam Foote, with the injuries they've suffered and the challenges they've had defensively. 30th, they rank on the penalty kill. Another chance for the power play to go get it. Go get it. Got a power play goal on Wednesday in Anaheim, but go get it. Take it to that 30th ranked PK. Run the show. Don't let them run your show.
You mentioned special teams. I think that's important against Vancouver. They have a decent power play percentage, but the power play carried them quite a bit over the last month or so. They didn't score in their last game on the power play against Colorado, but they went a stretch of 9 games, actually 8 games here I'm looking at, where they scored a power play goal and had power play goals, multiple power play goals twice. So if they get their man advantage rocking with Quinn Hughes pulling the strings up top, that's a way for them to stay in the game and pull in front. Utah's urgency has to also include focus, and that includes not taking bad penalties, which I think, Adrian, this team's been pretty good about the last I would say really the whole year. Haven't taken as many penalties as we saw last year.
Yeah, it hasn't been something we're looking at after a game like that penalty killed them. There's been a couple games, right? The first Vegas game, there was a penalty that kind of shifted the momentum, but it's really the only game I can think of. I did not care for the penalty that Utah took late in the first period in Dallas on Friday night when they had a 2-0 lead, and the Stars with that top 5 power play went to work and took the momentum back in the game. But yeah, just don't go into it like you're playing a team that has 3 regulation wins in their last 21. So I was kind of excited to play Anaheim in that game on Wednesday night because you had to go in dialed. You had to play your best game. You knew you had to play your best game. There wasn't any easing into it, any margin for error, any reason to think, we'll go out and play our game and we should be fine. No, you had to go out and just do it.
Yeah, and just to finish on the power play, if you put Vancouver on the power play tonight, that means you're putting Quinn Hughes on the ice, and he is their best player. He's one of the best defensemen in the league. He's got multiple Norrises in his future, but you look at the numbers with him on the ice versus him off the ice, and this has been the case over the last several years in Vancouver, but they are jarring with the shot attempts, the goal differential, the shot differential when Quinn Hughes is on the ice versus when he's off. And if you put Vancouver on the power play, you give their best player an opportunity to climb over the wall and play power play minutes, which are typically less stressful on the body than 5-on-5. So keep Hughes on the bench as much as you can, or at least keep that Vancouver power play off the ice as much as possible. And like you said, get to work and just do it. But we want to also kind of go back through that last win for Utah, because it was a big win. It was a statement win against a division leading team. And we're going to do that more in our Friday Free-for-All. We have tunneled deep below the Earth's crust into the mines. We've done some digging, and we have pulled out some golden nuggets of information. We have that for you around the corner next, right here on our Friday Free-for-All on Mammoth Daily.
Get ready. Your Friday Free-for-All is here.
Time for our Friday Free-for-All here on Mammoth Daily. And Adrian, Wednesday night, a huge win for this group. Looking back a couple nights ago, 7-0 against the Anaheim Ducks. And on our Friday Free-for-All, we're going to get into some of the notes and nuggets that we were able to dig up. And I say we do some work researching, but we get a lot of our stats from Russell Brooks, who is our stats extraordinaire, talking to us through Slack during the games. Biggest win margin in Utah NHL history, 7-0 clubbing of the Ducks. Also the third time ever that this group has scored 7 goals in a game. So couple notes right off the top. AD, what else do you have for us?
Let's go back to that 7-goal output and that 7-goal margin of victory, Mike. How about the third team in the NHL to win a game this year by at least 7? We all remember the Colorado-Edmonton game, 9-1 at Rexall on November 8th. Dallas shut out Montreal 7-0 on November 13th. And then you have the Mammoth beat the Anaheim Ducks 7-0 on Wednesday night. So top 3 in margin of victory for the season. It's pretty good. You did it against a Pacific Division leading team. But, Mike, it just goes to show you, Dallas beat a good Montreal team 7-0. Colorado beat a good Edmonton team 9-1. Good teams beating good teams. But, sometimes you'll run into a team and you can dictate it and they don't come in necessarily on their A game. And sometimes when you're not on your A game, you can string the game along in momentum situations, but there was just no opportunity for Anaheim to do that on Wednesday. How about JJ Peterka with a 4-point night, second of his career, joins Clayton Keller with a 4-point night this year for Utah. Logan Cooley, though, still one of only 5 players in the NHL this year to have a 5-point night, and the only one to have 4 goals. But nice one there for JJ as the Mammoth got things going. I really like number 77. I like watching him. He's fun.
Yeah.
I kind of like the excitement factor to it that, if JJ's had a game where he hasn't done much for 2 periods, he can still come out in the third period and take over the game. I'm fascinated by the guy, and I loved him. I said, yes, please, on yesterday's episode for JJ going with Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz. How about Ian Cole, +5, franchise record there. One of 8 players in the NHL this year to get a +5 in a game. Logan Cooley, Maverick Lamoureux. Mav Lam got it on Wednesday night. They're 2 of dozens to be second with +4s. So
Cole was +5.
From,
I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
he
on the
was
ice.
Great. What was Mav? What was Mav plus minus?
Mav was a +4.
Wow. Hey, that's got to feel great. And I mentioned this on the radio on Wednesday night, but I had talked to Mav in the dressing room, and this was off, off camera, off the record. But he was conveying how good he felt in Tucson. And he wasn't just boasting about himself. He was talking about himself on a pairing with Max Zuber, another prospect for the Utah Mammoth. And he was like, oh, yeah, we were good together. We were shutting guys down. And Mav was +4, I believe, through his start with the Tucson Roadrunners, and he's +4 already through one game with the Utah Mammoth. That pairing was one that we saw in every game that Mav played. He was always with Ian Cole through his 15 games last year, and they got off to a great start. How about Ian Cole? 2 goals this year. He had 1 all of last year, and him and John Marino were 2 guys who are seeing their offense tick up this year compared to what it was a season ago.
And to have Ian being the cookie monster in terms of blocking shots, right? He's taking pucks, and he's strong defensively. He's a good veteran presence. But you talk about getting 1% better every day. He's still doing it. And he's a guy that you can put a player like Maverick Lamoureux with Simashev. And you heard Mav talking about Ian Cole. He said to you and Nick on the radio on Wednesday night, I've talked to him more than my mom today, and asking questions and talking. And to have Cole with the leadership of the 2 Stanley Cup rings and the way he plays D and block shots, and he's consistent and he's professional, but to have him to be playing alongside guys like Maverick Lamoureux and Dmitry Simashev, it's big. And how about that pairing, Mike? Like, you'll see forwards get +4s, +5s in a game, or -4s, -5s in a game. But for a D pairing to be out there for basically 5 of the 6 5-on-5 goals, that's something. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, it is something, and plus minus, it is what it is, right? But golly, +5, that's tough to do. Speaking of blocking shots, speaking of Ian Cole, Utah, 25 block shots on Wednesday night. That was the most block shots this season, second most in franchise history. Nick kept wanting to talk about the way this team was defending. Like, we're up 3-0, 4-0. And I'm like, Nick, you want to talk about the goals? You want to talk about the offense? And Nick Olchek, my broadcast partner on Wednesday, kept wanting to talk about how this team is defending, and that's why. Because along with the 27 save shutout from Anaheim, there were moments, especially in the second period, where it was a laser light show. Anaheim snapping it around with all their skill. And yes, Vejmelka was really good. And yes, Anaheim missed some chances to score, but the Mammoth were keeping the puck away from their net. And that doesn't just include blocking shots. It also includes getting rebounds out of the slot and forcing things to the perimeter after a broken play.
They've allowed 1 5-on-5 goal to the Ducks in 2 games. So the second highest scoring team in the NHL. I think that exemplifies the season that Utah's had. They have been a shutdown team 5-on-5. And I don't know, Mike. I'd say 70% of the goals they've allowed have been off of mistakes in the offensive end. Just not being ready, not because of their 5-on-5 structure and their defensive game, because that's locked tight.
I'm scrolling through the Slack channel here, looking for more Russ nuggets, and there are a lot of them. First Utah regulation win on the road since October 26th at Winnipeg. Utah had lost 8 in a row on the road after starting the year pretty well away from the Delta Center. But I did want to ask Adrian, speaking of that game in Winnipeg, where, and this is how we'll wrap up our Friday free-for-all, but where do you rank this win this season for the Utah Mammoth? They've got 13 wins, and we've seen some statement wins. You think of the 5-1 victory against Vegas. You think of that 3-2 win against Winnipeg on the back end of a back-to-back on the road, and then this 7-0 demolition of Anaheim. Where do you rank this win? And for those of you watching on YouTube, feel free to let us know in the comments where you put this win for Utah.
Gosh, Mike, does it get any better than this? I don't think you could nitpick
Top spot?
anything.
Top spot?
I think it's got to be the best 60 minutes, the best win at the most needed time, playing a good team. But You look at the Vegas game, big win at a big time, 5-1, a second chance there. Talked about Winnipeg. That was tough. That was on a back-to-back. You're playing Connor Hellebuck, who Winnipeg doesn't have right now when they've lost 6-7. The Colorado game in overtime, where you had to come from behind, then you had a lead. They tied it, had to win that one in overtime. But Utah's had some wins against some good teams. What about you? But to me, the Anaheim game, and you know me, Mike, not gonna make rash, emotional, hot takes. Midnight rule's always in effect with us here on Mammoth Daily. I thought
right.
that Anaheim game was the best win of the year. But what about you?
It's definitely up there. I think the Winnipeg game, it's your 7th straight win. It's a 3-2 victory against the Jets team that is really good, that plays hard, that has a winning tradition. I think that one might be my favorite win on the back end of a back-to-back. It would have been so easy for the Mammoth to just take the foot off the gas in that game, and for them to win a tight game like that, man, I think that's up there. But gosh, I mean, Winnipeg wasn't leading the division at that time. This is a win against a team in Anaheim that, yes, they didn't have their better goaltenders in, but you shut them out. You shut them out. No matter if Lukáš Dostal was in net for Anaheim, you didn't allow the Ducks any goals in this game. And I agree, it's up there. I still would go with Winnipeg. That Winnipeg game on October 26th, 7 in a row, second end of a back-to-back. And a tight finish there. But let us know in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to reply where you rank the last win against the Ducks on Wednesday amongst the 13 so far for Utah. But AD, any other nuggets you want to get to as we wrap up our Friday free-for-all?
One more, Mike, as Utah continues on this road trip. 2 games left. So the Mammoth, Mike, have played 17 of 28 games on the road. Only the Edmonton Oilers have played that many games on the road. They're 6-8-3 on the road. Utah's 6-9-2 on the road. So about the same. The Mammoth are 7-3-1 at home. Edmonton is 5-3-2 at home. So that's the only thing you can compare it to. And we talked about it on yesterday's episode, so I'll keep it quick. But 17-27 on the road is another thing that you're adding to everybody in the NHL playing every other day back to back. But playing in road buildings, games on the road, tougher environments, the travel, but the amount of practice time that it takes away that you don't have time to do. And that's why I think that practice is so big on Tuesday. But that's the comparison to 2 teams that have played 17 games on the road. But the good news is, Mike, 2 big games left. You take it to Vancouver, you take it to Calgary, you get that split. That's all I've ever wanted. You got 30 of your next 52 games to wrap up the regular season at home. That's almost 60% of your games at home for the final 60% of the season.
Wow. Deep into the mines goes Adrian Denny. That is that's a great way to wrap up our Friday free-for-all. That a little bit more home cooking is on the way soon. But first, as Robert Frost says, miles to go before I sleep. We've got 2 more games to go on this road trip. Vancouver tonight and Calgary on Saturday. We will talk to you guys then, but first we have our local hockey segment. AD, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right to that here on Mammoth Daily.
This is Mammoth Daily.
Wrapping up your work week here on Mammoth Daily, and we've got a special guest with us for our local hockey segment. We talked to the president and GM of University of Utah Hockey, AJ Boldan. A great chat with AJ. And Adrian, this is kind of cliche to say on podcast, but we could have done an hour with AJ. We could have done 2 hours. You and I are both college sports fans. AJ works in college sports, and there's so much going on with collegiate hockey right now, especially in the state of Utah, that AJ is just a gold mine. And we only got him for like 12, 15 minutes, but it is a fun interview, and we're going to have him on again.
Yeah, it's a great way to go into the weekend. Our local hockey segment. We've talked a lot about our college team, so AJ just going to give us some insight in what's going on and how the high school scene helps them and what they're doing to grow high school hockey. So special guest here on our local hockey roundup. Let's get to that with AJ.
It is our immense pleasure to welcome to Mammoth Daily the president and general manager of the University of Utah Hockey, AJ Boldan. AJ, thank you for joining us, my friend. We are dipping our toes into the world of collegiate hockey for the first time on the show, and we're glad that we're leading off with you here. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This has been a pleasure, and can't wait to get started.
AJ, you guys are on an extended break right now, but going into Thanksgiving, it's been a fun year for Utah hockey, nationally ranked. Some big wins, of course. One of our favorites, Brady Schwab, picking up a big hat trick against San Diego State. But you guys get a lengthy break now until after the new year, but a good start to the season for Utah hockey.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so we have 3 hockey teams, actually, and the men's Division I, which we just talked about, they are on break until January and have had a fantastic season. They have gone, I think we're 8-1 right now against all top 10 opponents: Liberty, Minot State, Jamestown, UMary, UNLV, the defending national champions. So obviously you can always win a few more games, but they're performing really well against the best in the country, all 82 ACHA Division I teams, and couldn't be happier with Brady and his contributions to the team, and especially with our head coach Morgan Feeney and all of the rookies that have shown up this year and really elevated our program. So we couldn't be happier with men's Division I at this point.
Brady Schwab, of course, the son of our goaltender coach, Corey Schwab, a kid that I've known since he was little, and it's fun to see. Yeah, you talk about D1, AJ. D2 is actually where we get our in-state rivalries, like Weber State, Utah State, Utah Valley. It gets pretty heated with those rivalries.
It's awesome. That history goes back 20 plus years. And for those of you who don't know, BYU even had a program at one time. And the in-state rivalries at the Division II level are pretty fun. And when Utah State comes to town, we actually are hosting them this Saturday night for anybody that wants to come play or see our boys play Utah State. It's always a good rivalry, and not that I'm pitching for Utah State, but their barn up in Logan's pretty fun, and it's an intense environment, and hopefully one day we can elevate all of those programs to the NCAA status, because right now we're kind of non-varsity, and we can talk about that more if you guys want. Our goal is to not only, my goal personally coming from Minnesota is elevate not only college hockey in the state of Utah, but also elevate high school hockey and get it to a sanctioned status for everybody.
There's a lot of things I want to go into with what you just said, but just kind of starting out, like when people think of college sports, they think of Utah football, BYU football, like these NCAA sanctioned teams. And I come from, I have a small background as well in what we call club hockey. Now, this was ACHA Division III, and the first opponent we had at Purdue had like 9 players out there. So it was a different level than what you guys are doing at ACHA Division I and Division II. But can you kind of explain the validity, I guess, for lack of a better word, of club hockey? Because this is not just like intramural sports. This isn't just me and Adrian going out and playing like frisbee golf or like slow pitch softball intramural teams. Like this is, it may not be NCAA, but it is still extremely high level hockey.
I couldn't agree with you more. And when you talk about ACHA hockey, for those who aren't familiar with the acronym, it's the American Collegiate Hockey Association. So consider it to be the non-varsity governing body versus NCAA being the varsity governing body. And the biggest difference, just at face value, is scholarships. So for and scholarships aren't allowed in the ACHA, but you have plenty of programs from around the country that fully fund their programs from the school point of view. Their hockey operations are paid for, their ice is paid for, so on and so forth. So that is kind of what we're dealing with. But back to your original question, Mike, when it comes to ACHA hockey in the state of Utah, we have a really interesting breakdown. For the men's Division One team here at the university, we're the only men's Division One team in the state. We're also the only women's Division One team in the state, in addition to being the only women's team at the collegiate level in the state of Utah. Hopefully we can change that someday, but we added the women's team back in 2019 and couldn't be happier with the progress that they're making. The reason why I mention all of this is we at the university are recruiting every single student that comes to the University of Utah hockey program. So you mentioned the word club and how it differs from what we're working with. I couldn't agree with you more. And the reason being is club activities used to be something that you would go to an institution and then find your way. What differs for us in hockey is the ability to go after student athletes and say, hey, especially at the men's Division One level, we're competing against NCAA D3 quite often for recruits. And we have a big university, a huge football team. It's just a different experience than if you go play Division III hockey in a small state school or a small private school, right? So it's a different experience. The hockey is relatively similar depending on the program. And for the fans out there, I'm sure you can go find ACHA Division One programs that are playing NCAA D3 programs. UNLV, the current national champions, they also beat Denver University NCAA last December. So who knows if that's an outlier or not, but the hockey's really good in the ACHA is kind of my point. And when we're trying to close the gap when it comes to what non-varsity hockey means, these kids are making major life decisions about their colleges and their universities based on the hockey. And all of our kids are coming to the university because of hockey, in addition to, great academics. So I think that's what differs us from, the typical club sport experience. And if anybody puts a quarter in me, I always talk about that we are an actual non-varsity program, right? With 3 different teams, not just a club team that people show up and decide they want to play hockey. But I think the better word for that, Mike, is intramural.
You can't just go and sign up, right? Like you're
Yes,
plucking
exactly.
these kids. Where are a lot of them from, AJ? Are a lot of them from Utah?
We recruited from 25 different states and 5 different countries in this class alone. And so we've it's great. And the best part about it is you guys have been in the hockey world. You know that, you bring in one kid from, let's say, Wisconsin, then he's going to want to bring in one of his buddies or her buddies. And that's kind of how it works. And so you build a pipeline, you have a good reputation as a program. You're really able to not only good hockey mentality, but you can also, we can add the University of Utah to it and be a top 20 or 30 business program, or just being able to itch that academic scratch as well. Or I guess I should invert that. You guys can cut that.
we got you.
AJ, the 60 plus high school programs that we have in the state, tell us just how high school hockey has grown, evolved, and if there's any programs that have set the bar or come out and develop some good kids that you've been able to use at the University of Utah to welcome to your programs and move on to other spots as well.
Yeah, I think the litany of or the list of high school programs that have been influential for us is long, and it just depends on the year and the season for which ones are peaking and whatnot. So I think what I always found interesting is Vernal High School, their high school program, and Vernal has their own rink. I think it's in the fairgrounds, and from what I know, they're one of the few programs with their own rink. And for years they were exceptional. And then you have those up in Logan. I think really what it comes down to is access to ice. And perhaps if we can get to the point where there's sanctioned sports like football is in the state of Utah, I really think we have room for growth. And I'm biased. I came from Minnesota, so it's really easy for me to say, well, high school hockey should just be a thing, but we have to get there. And what I've been telling everybody that I possibly can is we have the Olympics coming in 2034. That's 9 years that we can make huge improvements when it comes to high school hockey. We can really start building towards the culminating event of that gold medal game in 2034 and really tie all this together. You got the youth programs and those little kids that are in either, learn to skate with you guys or with, the Salt Lake County or Park City or whatever program they're in. And they can say, hey, mom, dad, I want to go play high school now. And then the high schoolers can look at the colleges and say, hey, I want to go play college. And then the colleges, the kids can say, hey, now that we have the Mammoth, I have a place to go. I can figure out a path from here to there, and I don't have to necessarily go out of state, which, again, I'm not a Utah kid, but you talk to the guys like Trevor Lewis who made it to the show, they're going to tell you that once upon a time, I had to leave Utah in order to pursue my dream. And so I would like to close that gap. And obviously, hockey's super competitive. You never know where your path is going to go, but I really think it would be awesome to be able to show a path for every little kid that isn't a learn to skate program. And I know I didn't really answer your question, AD, but hopefully I got there in a roundabout way.
100%. The kids up in the Ashley Valley there, I've always been just amazed because they've got the rink, but they are so far from everything, and they come down to Salt Lake, and I'm sure they're going to Denver, and I've admired it from them, seeing it 20 plus years, them taking advantage and playing at our rinks down here in Salt Lake. But gosh, those kids are dedicated, and so are their families to make that commitment for decades of, you got your great rink, but you got to travel to play teams and get ice elsewhere.
Yeah. And if you look at the growth here in the valley, like the kids going up there as well, and they can drive up to Ogden or Logan and down to Provo. Like every little community has an opportunity to turn this into the family sport that hockey is. So I'm hoping that you guys can continue your efforts and your leadership in this area.
I want to get to more talk on just college hockey as a whole, but I have to ask about high school hockey again, because when we met AJ, we were getting beers at Furta Brewing and hanging out, and you led on. You're a Minnesota boy, and you, from what I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, you truly believe in the way that Minnesota does hockey. And obviously, like, it's a hockey hotbed, but you have guys who are staying in high school to play for their high school teams in Minnesota compared to going and playing in juniors or what have you. And you don't really see that in any of the other hotbeds, like out on the East Coast per se, in the U.S. Like, why is that? Why is Minnesota high school hockey so big and so successful?
In my opinion, I think it's culture and it's legacy. So you have kids that are playing today, their parents played high school hockey, and then their grandparents played high school hockey. So you can go through a locker room in a historic hockey community like Hibbing or Duluth and see entire generations of hockey players come through those high schools. And I think it's really important for student athletes to be able to get that opportunity, play for their high school, and then move on to juniors, because every step in that path is unique, and you only get one chance to play for a school at the high school age, and at every level it gets harder and harder to move on. And I think that's where high school leads, for a lot of guys, leads to juniors, which leads to college. Whether or not you play NCAA or ACHA, it's just an incredible experience. And when you go to I invite everybody that's watching this podcast to go either watch the high school tournament, which is broadcasted for free in March, or go. It's the hottest ticket in town besides the Wild and the Gophers. But please watch it. It's incredible. And just their introductions. There's a really cool YouTube segment with the high school hockey hair.
Love it.
You guys can go down that. Yeah, go down that YouTube rabbit hole for hours if you want.
That guy, whoever does those videos, is unbelievable. He's like, look at the salad on this guy. So much fun. He's been doing it for years. But want to bring it back to the collegiate realm, because we're seeing schools turn from ACHA D1 to NCAA D1. We're starting to see that across the South. We're seeing the rise of, I worked in Atlanta for a couple of years. You were starting to see the rise of these non-varsity programs at big schools like Alabama and Georgia, in the SEC, and out west as well, Oregon, UCLA. Like, what is the future of college hockey in terms of the NCAA, but also non-varsity hockey's relationship with the NCAA?
I think the short version is I see a future for both. I see ACHA coexisting with NCAA, but then you look at Arizona State as a model, where their head coach, Greg Powers, was a ACHA Division I head coach, and was able to shepherd that program into an NCAA powerhouse that now includes, a brand new rink on campus and a fantastic hockey environment. So, and then you add Arizona State, you look at Penn State, all of these storied programs, at least in the last decade or two, maybe three, are really getting their start at the ACHA level, proving that hockey is a revenue positive sport, and then taking the leap. And there's going to be more in the future, have no doubt. So I'm really looking forward to the future. I would love to see it here at the University of Utah. Clearly I'm biased, but I do think that combining collegiate NCAA hockey with NHL and whatever the future holds for minor hockey in Utah as well, I think would go hand in hand, and just tie it back to high school. Let's figure it out, because there's good hockey homes for all these hockey players.
AJ, we clearly need to get you back on, because we're 18 minutes in here, and I think Adrian and I both are like, we want to keep talking about this. But real quick, just can you kind of pitch coming to a game in person for us? Like, if someone is a Mammoth fan but has never been to a club hockey game, I've been to them. I know how much fun they are. Can you pitch it for our listeners and our Mammoth fans who haven't tasted hockey at the U?
You got it. We play at the Salt Lake City Sports Complex, which is just adjacent to the football stadium here on campus. It's an Olympic-sized sheet, 2,500 seats. We average about 700, 800 season ticket holders. Come for a good time. Come see women's hockey and some of the best men's collegiate hockey in the state. And I'll also put this out there, Mike. I'm going to put a free ticket code in our ticketing system, NashCast, for free hockey tickets I'll keep it open till the end of the month, and anybody that wants to come for free, come on down. We're glad to have you. We got lots of hockey coming in January and February. We're hosting 2 tournaments. They're Division II tournaments. There's a conference championship. There's also the ACHA regional tournament. And then our hope is that all 3 teams qualify for nationals this year.
That's incredible. So someone just walks up to the window and says, Nash cap and boom, they're in the hockey game for free?
That's true. My sincere ask is you just get a ticket online, and that way we can just scan you when you come in.
Gotcha. That's outstanding. We appreciate the generosity, and hopefully there's a lot of people who wear mountain blue on one night, but Utah red on your game nights. We're excited to come see you guys play, AJ, and you guys have been killing it so far this season. So good luck the rest of the way, and thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here. Couldn't be happier to share some time with you, gentlemen.